Hey guys, click on RicklandR.com, and of course, the House of Biceps. I'm here at the House of Biceps today answering your questions. Had a question that came in from Justin the other day, kind of tweaked my interest just a little bit. Justin asked, Clint, what was your biggest mistake that you made in the sport of strongman? You know, this is a really interesting question. I can say that I've made a lot of mistakes, just as I think that anybody who's been involved in a sport 15 plus years, who's been doing something like lifting and training for close to 25 years, who's been involved in sports for doggone 35 years plus now. I'm not talking about all the little things like I should not have taken that attempt that led to an injury, that sort of thing. I think the biggest mistake that I made in the sport of strongman was I did not pay enough attention to my weaknesses. Now, if you don't know me and you haven't known me for several decades, I am actually a very athletic person. I have issues now, but doggone it, I'm doggone near 40 years old, so I'm going to lose some athleticism. When I was younger, I could play any sport. I think anyone who knew me probably knew me as the guy that you could pick for any team. It didn't matter what the sport was. I was at least going to have some athleticism. You could teach me the sport, but I could run, I could sprint, I could jump, I could flip. I could do naturally what most people couldn't. You could develop me into a good player for whatever the sport was. I was born with that athleticism, and I had the mentality to push myself just as far or farther than anybody else on the field could. And really that took me a long way in the sport of strongman. Even at my first competition, the one comment that people continued to make about me was that I was this really big, super athletic guy going across the field. That bare athleticism carried me a long way. I will say it carried me to the top of the amateur ranks without ever focusing on actual strength training. My entire training principles through beginning the sport of strongman all the way through turning pro was not based on strength. It was just based on getting more and more athletic with the strongman implements. And I was pretty good at that. Once I turned pro, I did take a full year off. I had some injuries and my 4-year college degree had already turned into 8 years, and I really needed to focus on that. And I had some weaknesses in the gym. Now, I did focus on getting stronger in the gym, but to be quite honest, even as an internationally competing professional strongman, I still only had about a 730, 740, 750 deadlift. And that just wasn't enough to compete with the level of athletes I was wanting to compete with. Now, my athleticism and my mental craziness took me a long way, and I could compete with, say, the third tier pro strongmen, but I was never going to make it to the top of that tier or to the next tier without getting a whole lot stronger. Now, at 295 pounds, I could still grab the rim on a basketball goal, and I'm not 6'6", I'm not 2 meters tall. At my best, I was 6'2". I'm probably closer to 6 foot now than I am 6'2". But I could grab the rim. I could run a 57-second 400 meter consistently. I could do a 720 flip in the air and actually hit stuff. There was a lot of things that I could do that most people couldn't do at 200 pounds. And I was near 300 pounds, and my athleticism would still allow me to do that. That transferred over onto the strongman field very, very well. I could move faster than almost everybody else on the field. I didn't have the best cardio, but I had the most athleticism on the field. And by the time I realized that the one thing I was lacking was a base of strength and powerlifting, I needed a big squat, a big deadlift, a big bench press, a big strict press. I needed a whole new layer of me on my body. And by the time that I realized that, I was already in my early 30s and my career was going down. Why was my career going down? Well, I had some health issues, but the biggest thing was probably after the age of 30 and as you reach near the age of 40, your strength can continue to rise. Your athleticism goes in the opposite direction and it's a steady decline. So I began losing the one thing that I was good at, and I did not focus on the thing that I was not good at. At least I didn't focus on it early enough. If I had focused on powerlifting, having a bigger squat, having a bigger deadlift, having more size to my body, having that other powerlifter layer on my body, had I focused on that through my mid-20s, that could have set me up to do great things around the age of 30, and it could have carried me through my 30s. It might even put me in a better position today. So Justin, the biggest mistake I made in the sport of strongman? Well, I gave too much attention and I relied too much on my strength, and I didn't give near enough attention to my weakness. Thanks, Justin.